You know that feeling. The house is dark, everyone else is asleep, but there you are, just bathed in the glow of your laptop screen. The only sounds are the hum of the machine and your own typing. You're exhausted, but you keep pushing. And you tell yourself, right? This is what it takes. This one extra hour, this final push, this is the hustle that sets you apart. It has to be progress. It feels like it's what you're supposed to do. But what if it's not? What if all that late-night effort, all that sacrifice, is just you digging yourself deeper into a hole? What if the problem isn't that you're not working hard enough, but that you're fighting on the completely wrong battlefield? I want you to consider something that might just be a huge relief. Maybe your work ethic isn't the problem at all. Maybe the game itself is rigged against you, not because of some conspiracy, but because of the very ground you're standing on. So let's really get into this. Because over 2,000 years ago, this brilliant general, Sun Tzu, he actually wrote the playbook for this exact problem. He called it Understanding the Terrain. And believe me, it is the secret to making sense of the crazy world we're in right now. So what is terrain? In our world, it's your market conditions. It's the culture at your company. It's the unspoken rules of your industry. It's this invisible landscape that really decides who wins and who loses. And if you ignore it, well, that's not hustling. You're literally just gambling with your future. Sun Tzu breaks it down into 6 types of ground. First up is accessible ground. Think of a new viral trend. It's a wide open field, right? Anybody can jump in. The winning move here, get there fast, grab the high ground, become the authority, and make sure your supply lines, your content, are solid. Then you've got entangling ground. Oh, this one's tricky. It's that job or that business idea that looks so good on paper. It's super easy to get into, but once you're in, it's like quicksand. Getting out means a massive loss. You have to be so careful before you step foot on this kind of ground. The third type, temporizing ground. This is basically a stalemate. If you make a move, you lose. If they make a move, they lose. Your competition might try to bait you, dangle some shiny new project to lure you out into the open. Sun Tzu's advice is simple. Don't. You wait. Let them make the first mistake. Okay, next is narrow passes. This is your classic hyper-niche market. The strategy is dead simple. Be the first one there and just own it completely. Become the go-to person. And if someone else is already there, don't even bother trying to fight them for it, unless you see a major weakness. Then we have precipitous heights. This is your high-risk, high-reward stuff. Think of a brand new volatile AI startup. The key here is to get to the top first, the sunny spot where everyone can see you. Be transparent, be visible. But if your competitor is already up there, don't start a painful uphill battle. Just turn around and walk away. And finally, there's distant ground. Look, this is a battle you just can't win. Your competition is in a totally different league. You have 0 home field advantage. Wasting your energy here, it's a guaranteed lose-lose for everybody. So, okay. You get it, you understand the terrain, you have the map, but what if the map isn't the problem? I remember leading this small team once. I was so passionate about the project, but we just kept failing. I blamed everything, the budget, the market, but the real problem, and this was tough to admit, was me. Sometimes the real enemy isn't out there. Sun Tzu is absolutely brutal on this point. He says that if an army or, a team falls apart, it is never bad luck. It is always a failure of leadership. It's on you, period. And he gives us 6 critical warning signs. 6 ways a leader can accidentally march their team straight into disaster. See if any of these sound familiar. Flight. That's trying to fight a Goliath when you're David without the slingshot. Insubordination. You've got a killer team, but the manager is weak and they just run wild. Collapse. That's the opposite. A fantastic manager stuck with a team that just can't get it done. Ruin. This is when your middle managers are bitter and just quietly torpedoing everything. Disorganization. No clear rules, no structure, just vibes. And finally, rout. When you totally underestimate a challenge and send in your B team. But the most insidious trap, especially for leaders today, is something else. It's what I call the too nice trap. It's when your greatest strength, your empathy, actually becomes your biggest weakness. Sun Tzu actually tells us to lead with love. He says you should treat your people like your own children, and if you do, they will follow you anywhere. They will literally stand by you until death. It's a beautiful idea, and it's incredibly powerful. But, and this is so important, there's a massive but. While that empathy builds incredible loyalty, Sun Tzu warns that if your love makes you too permissive, if you can't enforce standards or command respect, then your team isn't a team anymore. They become, and these are his words, spoiled children.
Just let that land for a second. We talk so much about empathetic leadership, and it's crucial, but empathy without accountability, it's not just ineffective, it's destructive. It is absolutely useless.
All right, so how do we pull all of this together? How do we see the terrain clearly and lead our teams without falling into these traps? Well, Sun Tzu doesn't just leave us with warnings. He gives us a simple 4-point map for success, a formula for becoming unbeatable. It's this simple. 1. Know yourself, your real skills, and just as important, your limits, so you can avoid those 6 leadership failures. 2. Know the enemy, your competition for what they actually are, not what you want them to be. 3. Know heaven. This means the timing, the big market trends. And 4, know the earth. That's the terrain we've been talking about, the ground right under your feet. That's it. That's the whole map.
Because when you know these 4 things, winning isn't a matter of luck anymore. It's almost inevitable. The path just opens up. So really, there's only one question left to ask yourself. Now that you have the map, who are you becoming on this journey?
Subscribe for daily wisdom.